Alrighty guys, in today's video we'll be replacing some E39 headlight lenses to make them look like this from something more like this. So after a while, you can polish that side of a headlight lens for quite a while, but after a certain point, the inside starts to get yellow and cracked, and you can't really do much about it other than replace the entire lens. So unfortunately, E39s, most LCI housings, you cannot replace them. You have to actually get an entirely new headlight housing. I believe it is up till July of 2002 production that you can actually open up these housings. The earlier ones you can, the later ones you cannot. They are perma-sealed, meaning that they are basically sealed shut with a special type of glue. It means you can't open them without cutting them open. You can do that, but it's a much more complicated route that takes a lot more time. I recommend going to a junkyard, picking up a set of earlier lights like these, and taking the lens off and replacing them. Now this is the finished product. They looked basically like this when I got them. My car currently has some newer lights, which means they're perma-sealed. I have tried polishing them several times, but with no success. Over time, it just kind of gets to that point where the plastic fully just kind of falls apart and disintegrates. But also I did some European style corner lenses instead of having the US spec orange like this. This is a second set of lights I have from a junkyard. I actually have, I think, 3 or 4 sets of E39 lights for some reason. So I'll be putting this on my car and taking the one off and probably keeping those as spares, or maybe even trying to fix those up a little bit more. But for now, these will do. This is the finished one on the left side, obviously. Or actually, this is the right side of the car. I'll be doing the driver's side to show you guys how to do it. And we'll also be changing out the headlight adjusters. So these headlight adjusters kind of keep the headlights level. And it's very common in E39s. These things just disintegrate, leaving your headlights flopping around in the housings, kind of like this. That should not be happening. These are fixed in place and will only move with the motor, which is perfect. That's what you want. I got these adjusters from a Polish guy on eBay. He basically makes these to be better than factory, and they shouldn't suffer the same issues that those ones do. You can get metal ones, I've heard, although I couldn't really find them, so I just got these. They should be good with those. What's cool about these, they also come with the gears to adjust. So, for example, if these gears were shot, to actually adjust the adjuster themselves. You couldn't do that if these are broken, but thankfully the kit comes with plenty of spares. So, with that being said, all I need to do now is transfer the stuff from my current headlights to these, the ballast and the bulbs and all that. But that should be taking a few minutes. But overall, the process is actually pretty simple and actually not as daunting as it may seem. All right, so let's get started with the driver's side. Of course, on your kitchen table, as you do. Not ideal, but we did what it is. As you can see, I've totally cannibalized 2 old housings from my passenger side. That's the actual one I used. That's just my old housing right over here. You can't even open that guy up, but you can see it's pretty cloudy. The new ones look great in comparison. As for these, something I learned today is that some E39s, all LCIs I thought were xenons. Not true. This guy right here is actually one of my old low beam housings from one of my donor lights, one I actually thought I'd be using. But this is for, I believe, an H7 bulb, halogen bulb. It has the projector lens, but it's actually quite a lot shallower than the xenon lens. The entire lens is different, the assembly is different, and of course, most importantly, the socket's different. So you want to make sure you're consistent with what you're doing. If your car has halogens, use a halogen sort of setup. If your car has xenons, use a xenon setup. This one over here is the xenon housing. You can tell because it has the rack for the ballast over there, and it has the xenon socket for D2S xenon bulbs. So we can use this no problem, and I can open it, and the housing is free of cracks, any damage. So first step is removing all the bulbs, and also any other plastic parts, like for example, this guard on top. We can take this off. It should slide out with a few clips. This bottom trim panel, we'll just take the one off our car right now. It's already wrapped to match the car's color, so we won't be needing this. Any bulbs, if there are any, like this guy over here is the turn signal bulb. We'll just take this out real quick. I've amassed a collection of turn signal bulbs during this project. Gotta clean this table well afterwards, no matter. And also all these little ventilation hoses. We don't want to put those in the oven as they might melt. We certainly don't want that, do we? And now I'll take off this very damaged ballast bracket. Luckily, we won't need this because I can take one off my existing headlight. But a few 8mm screws. The halogen ones will not have this at all, so I don't need to worry about that. You also want to get out these tiny T10 torque screws on the very side of the housing that kind of face where the grill would be. We'll also take off this rubber gasket that kind of meets where the high beam bulb sits. This part will need to be removed to get the entire housing out, or at least the lighting housing out of the main housing to access the headlight adjusters. We'll leave this motor in for the headlight adjustment itself. That can stay in there. But other than that, we're good to go pretty much. Almost forgot about this bottom trim piece. Gonna lift up these tabs. And also there's one more tab at the very end, which you gotta really press down. And that's over here. Here's a better look at that tab. Use a pick tool or a flathead screwdriver to push that thing down. It'll slide out. It's kind of funny, all of these white plastic pieces you see in the lens are actually broken headlight adjusters, so they'll be changed soon. I'll have to bake these headlights in the oven to loosen up that seal. I've got a couple 2x4s in here. Don't worry, it won't catch on fire. I've done this about 20 times. They're not in here for very long anyways, but what you want to do is have your oven set to about 185, 190 on convection on. If you don't have a convection oven, you run the risk of actually burning and melting your headlights, so you don't want to do that necessarily if you have the option. But the goal is to make sure that your headlight isn't actually touching any of the metal parts of the oven. So not the sides, not the bottom, because if they do, they can melt, and we don't want that at all, do we? Let's leave these in for about 6 minutes. All right, with the lights out of the oven, I can slowly kind of spread them apart without burning myself, obviously. They're still pretty hot. Kind of requires 2 hands for this, but you can see they're just kind of separating slowly but surely. The one down there, which I was showing initially, actually is perma-sealed, which confused me because it's June of 2002 manufacturing date, which confused me because I thought it was July was a cutoff, but maybe it's June. But this is an 01 housing, opens up no problem. Unfortunately, it's a halogen housing, which means I will have to get some donor parts, which I already have, from that housing over there, which was given to me. It's an old M5 housing, totally random. I just happen to have it, but it'll work in this case. But I won't show the details of that because that gets kind of messy. But the general grand scheme of things, we'll be taking this off. Just the same process as our putting new lenses on. So we'll keep doing this. I'll get this off slowly, and then I'll get the halogen stuff out of there, and then I'll get the adjusters changed and show you guys that process. And then we'll go ahead and put the new lenses on. So once you pull either the xenon housing or the halogen housing out of the entire housing, this is what you're left with. Nothing much really to see here. There are the broken adjusters. There's one over there, one over there. And if you had the xenon option, you would have the motor control down here, which is what I'll have to reinstall now. And actually we'll take it off from one of the older housings over there. But that'll go in right over here, and that piece will stick out and slot into here. In this case, I'm not actually sure what the halogen housings have, because my halogen housings don't actually have anything attached over here. Maybe it's also a motor for adjustment as well. That would make sense. And of course, we have each of the individual pieces over here that connect to the adjusters. You can see it actually broke off in here, so I'll have to extract that with the pick tool. But for now, I'll have to take these off. And because they're so brittle, you pretty much have to break them out of here, which is not the most fun thing in the world. But that's what we'll be doing. You can also actually adjust them to unscrew themselves in a way, which I might do because these ones actually seem pretty intact compared to the previous ones I've done, which means you just have to adjust these guys over here with a Phillips head screwdriver. You can see there. I believe if you turn it clockwise, it'll push it forward. At least it did in the other ones. So I'll do that again over here. And then if you do the other way, of course, it'll suck it back in. So we'll do that first, and then we'll get those out of there, and we'll put the new ones in and go from there. This one was actually intact enough to just screw right out, so I screwed it clockwise, and as if I were to tighten it, and it just kind of came out like so. I'll do the same on this side now and repeat the process. Hopefully it's just as easy. To put the new ones in, it's the exact same process for reverse. You'll have to do loosening it to, I guess, tighten it into the spot. It'll suck it back in, as long as you line it correctly, and then we can go ahead and get the housing ready to go back inside of this actual main housing over here. I have to transfer some components like this strap over here for the ballast because I'm going from a halogen housing to a xenon housing. Way too complicated. Don't want to really get too much into that. You probably won't be dealing with this yourself because if you're smart, you will have the correct housing ready to go. You'll have just go for an 01 housing. That's xenon if you have xenons. Owen housing, that's halogen if you have halogens. And you should be straight. Any of the lenses will work in any of the housings. I got my lenses off eBay. They're just TYC brand, not Hella Original, which I would have loved, but couldn't find them. But these seem to be rated pretty well, and they should do the job just fine. As we can see, the new adjusters are in. They literally just screwed in. It's as simple as that. The other one did come out in multiple pieces, but that's okay. At least it all came out. I've also got the motor set up over here for the headlight adjustment. I got this guy cleared up. Just using a pick tool, I got that little plastic broken piece out of there. So now we can put in our projector for the xenon as well as a reflector for the I-beam back in the main housing over here. We'll want to slide in this little bracket over here first into the ball socket for the motor over here. Then we can pop in these two separately. These are pretty easy. Just this one's a bit of a tricky part just because of kind of managing the whole thing. But with some care, it's not that bad, honestly. I'm just going to make sure to get some fingerprints on the chrome parts. I already have, so it kind of is what it is for my case. The problem with these chrome pieces is that if you wipe in a microfiber towel, they usually will remove the chrome. So it's not always what you want. You have to respray and make it a better look again. But for what I'm doing, this is totally fine. Much easier the second time around. Got that bottom piece in first. Top two are popped in. And now the entire thing is nice and steady. It's not going anywhere, which is what we want. No more floppy headlight internals like we had before. They actually will see the road now, which is nice. I might do some further adjustment right now, only because I did have the adjusters all the way out. Then once I have those adjusted, get ready to put this guy back on along with the new lens, which I have in some box on the table over there. So we'll also need to get some new sealant to put in here. I'll link that down below. You basically take this butyl seal, you stretch it pretty thin along this side. If you want to, you can actually remove the old sealant, but in this case, because it's so cleanly removed from the old lens, I'll probably just leave it in there and put the new seal on top of that. So the sealant comes in this roll, but we want to stretch it out to make it almost as thin as this at the very end over here. In fact, even a little bit thinner than that. You can see how thin that is versus this. Now, keep in mind, I'm also taking into account the fact that there is still some old seal in here. If there weren't as much, I'd probably put a little bit more in here. Also, it's annoying that this paper is stuck to this, but I'll probably try and take it off. But worst case scenario, it'll just melt together. So not a huge deal there. But once we make a full loop, we'll get that guy back on and get the lens rested on top. Put it back in the oven, then wait for another 5 minutes or so, and then squeeze it back together. All right, you got this sort of pressed into this point. All the tabs are just kind of in, not all the way, but enough that it's going to hold its place. We can put the lens on top and lightly kind of melt into place once it's in the oven. And here's the new lens. Look at that. What a transformation from those crusty old 20-year-old yellow lenses. So as you can see, I kind of have it lined up just above the tabs you're supposed to click in. It's pressed on there, so it won't come off, but it's definitely not at all seated by any means. So now we'll stick this back in the oven for, say, about 5 to 6 minutes. The same temperature, 195, 190, 185, whatever you set it to before. Put it for about 5 to 6 minutes. Take it back out and just really press together and put those tiny T10 screws back in place. And we're essentially back in business once we get the bulbs back in.
A few moments later.
And there we have it. It's all back together now. All we have to do is reattach these little guys over here and transfer all the parts from the other headlight. So the ballast, the xenon bulb, turn signal bulb, and whatever else was there. Also the trim piece at the very bottom of the light. And that's all pretty straightforward. I'll be back with you guys once that's done. That is pretty much just transferring stuff over. Really nothing too complicated. And we've already done it before by taking stuff out of this housing itself. I just brought the old housing to compare to the new one. It'll transfer all the parts, but look at that. What a difference, huh? It's amazing what a new lens can do. It's crystal clear versus foggy and old. Wow, super happy with that. Well, the headlights look incredible, but there's one thing I need to change. And also, don't mind how dirty this car is right now. It's been sitting here for a few weeks. It needs a bunch of servicing, and I've been too lazy to do it. So I'm gonna get this done right now. This is not gonna work anymore. And would you look at that? Isn't that just much better? We get a continuous clear from front to back, which is awesome. Now, just gotta wash this thing because my God, this is actually appalling. This color truly is beautiful, but I haven't really shown you guys on YouTube yet. I'll be making a full video about this car very, very soon. It's been a while off the channel. Got to fix a few things. You can probably tell from this little video right here. The parking sensor clips are totally shot. as I'm missing a fog light, little thing down there. They're going to fix all those things soon. That fog light's cracked, got to change that out. But the headlights with the grill are looking really, really good. And it's also leaking coolant quite badly because there's a crack in my somewhat new radiator, which is awesome. So got to take care of all these things, and hopefully we'll be back on the road pretty soon. But definitely got to order some parts because right now it's not looking too good. So I'm driving the SL right now at least. So but anyways, really stoked to have it looking this good again because it's been quite a while since I've actually enjoyed looking at the front of this car. Anyways, guys, that's it for now, and I'll see you in the next one, and hopefully we'll have some more 5 Series content soon and getting this thing just kind of back to how it should be, back in daily driving and working order. If you guys enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, be sure to check out sta-industries.com, where you guys can find tons of E39 inspired apparel, lots of clothing designs and hoodie designs that I've made myself. It goes a long way to help the channel out and make more videos like this. You can see I made some cool designs with the 5 Series silhouette and some of the random facts about it and some of the cool designs as well. So be sure to check it out. Link in the description below. And let me know if you got any recommendations for what to make, because I'm pretty open to it and I got some time. So yeah, let me know. See you guys in the next one.
Well, first off, I should mention that the E39 is from BMW's golden age of vehicles. You have the cars with the Z8, the E46 M3, the E38 7 Series, the first gen E53 X5, and of course the wonderful E39 5 Series. This includes the M5 and of course the inline 6 models like the 525, 528, and 530 like this.